Hello, and welcome to the Blue Shadow Podcast. My name is Joey.
I am Dan.
And today we're excited to share our thoughts on LEGO Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy. What did you think of it, Dan?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was different. And I'm going to say this now, and then we'll cycle back to it at the end. Makes you want to make a LEGO purchase.
Oh, I'm excited. Yes, I'm excited to talk about this. I genuinely love all of the LEGO stuff, like the holiday specials and the LEGO games. Even the original shows kind of like this, like the Freemaker Adventures. Anything they do with LEGO Star Wars is always really entertaining. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was super fun. And my favorite part about it was that it kind of joined the whole galaxy together. And I've talked recently about in like our Star Wars Outlaws review and stuff like The Acolyte, where they kind of pull influences from all the different aspects of Star Wars. And this was like as in your face with that as we've ever seen.
Yeah, they held nothing back. They used the music that we know.
And often twisted.
Yeah. We had some self-awareness throughout. And I really enjoyed the story and how they did it.
It was like surprisingly high quality.
I didn't know what to expect going into it other than that the galaxy's been rearranged. But the way they've come up with the cornerstone and that whole idea of that there's this one stone holding the galaxy, one brick holding the galaxy together was really cool. And the way they did it was just so fun.
And the fact that it was centered around the brother relationship, I thought that was really interesting.
Force dyad?
Maybe. And it's interesting that like Dev wasn't force sensitive in the original Galaxy, but was in the...
Or was he?
Well, you're right. Not that we knew, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't. So those are our overall thoughts. Want to kind of go into like now, what did we think of like the characters? What were your favorite use of characters being inverted on their heads?
I mean,
did you have a preferences to some of them?
Yes. But do you want to take your...
Darth Ray.
Yeah.
100%. I was so happy she had... I mean, one of my things that I wish could have been a little different with this is that they introduced so much. I would have loved to have spent more time with a lot of the weirdness. But, you know, it's good. I'm happy with it. But I love that Darth Ray was one of the things that got a lot of time. That's one of those theme inversions where they took her theme, which is one of my favorite pieces of Star Wars music, and made it all evil. I loved it. Yeah. Lightsaber fighting was awesome. So Darth Ray was obviously my favorite. But I also loved Jedi Palpatine.
He was great.
It was so funny. I want to like you can definitely get like the Luke Skywalker torso and like build that. It'd be so ridiculous.
Yeah. And then I just have to throw out non-fallen Jedi Dooku.
I knew you would love it.
I wasn't sure how they were going to do it. Because you did tell me maybe last week, oh, Dooku's in the new trailer. And I'm like, I don't want to know.
And I that's one, like, for example, where I wish they would have been able to give a little more, but they didn't.
Does that mean he's a fallen Sith?
Maybe. That's intriguing. I loved the, let's see what else I really enjoyed. Like, the Akbar clones were fantastic.
Yeah.
It was so silly. And that was probably the most developed joke of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was so good. What, was there anything that you thought was like particularly strong that was like one of those quick ones that wasn't like a, you know, like a main character for the show?
Ooh. That's tough. Can we say Greedo? Is he
100%?
Okay.
That was so unexpected.
That and then the ship, the Firebird,
Fire Spray, Slave One,
whatever,
with the little Rhodian ears that like popped out. Oh my god, it was so funny. And like the color scheme, it was just so weird.
It was, and then the little line about, he shot his shot first.
Yes. And then Han Solo being a bad guy, like that makes total. I did not see it coming. It was just not in my brain. But it makes so much sense.
Yeah, I was thinking the whole time. I'm like, who's the spy? Who did you think it was?
I thought it was going to be someone on the Jedi Order or like the Ghetto Jedi Council. I didn't realize, like, I didn't know who it was going to be.
I thought it was going to be the Gonk droid. I forget its name.
Servo.
I thought it'd be Servo.
I felt surprisingly. This little side note. I love Servo. I felt surprisingly sad when he got taken apart.
Well, yes, me too.
I was like, why am I this upset about this? And then in the intro, did you notice that?
Yes, I was just going to bring that up.
Like he was there, and then they made him talk when he got the ability to talk. And then it was like, meow in the last episode. So sad.
Yeah.
But he's fine.
And then, just on the intro real quick, did you see in the beginning of the last episode how the Rebuild the Galaxy logo fell apart instead of being built.
Yes, it was so like. I feel like a lot of attention was given to this, which was really exciting. Just I didn't. The Jedi Council is where I feel like I wanted to linger most, but like the
Jedi
Jabba, it just was Jedi Cad Bane. It's so weird, and we talk all the time about how we love when Star Wars gets weird.
Yeah,
and this is like fun weird. It's fantastic.
This is just was that Jedi IG-88?
It's the Ewok Bounty Hunters. That's one that was in the trailer, and it still got me. One thing that I did want to talk about that I was a little sad about, and as we're recording, I have Darth Ray and Darth Jar Jar sitting, the little figures in front of us. I wish Darth Jar Jar was in it a little more because they put so much marketing emphasis on him. But it was used perfectly.
I feel like if we would have gotten any more of Darth Jar Jar, it would have been too much Darth Jar Jar. We got just enough of.
See, they released all of the footage technically. Like I would say.
All of it except the I'm the Phantom Menace.
Yes. But it's like we saw 90%, if not more, of his stuff. I wish that they positioned him as being like the main bad guy in the trailers. And I, it's fine. Like I don't care. I think the relationship with Darth Dev is better.
I think Darth Dev was so unique and fun.
And like I thought it was interesting with Darth Dev. And excuse our we're kind of bouncing back and forth talking about characters now, and we're going to talk about story, like big picture of the story later on. But how Darth Dev kind of, I don't know if he was pretending or was starting to like get maybe through his interactions with the Cornerstone, like pieces of his original memory. Mm-hmm. Like, what did you think about that?
Yeah, that's an interesting.
Like
way of
calling him Siggy, like there's no way that he would have known,
right? And that's where I didn't put the pieces together.
Oh, that's my God,
that's a good Lego pun, or that's a Lego pun.
Yeah, thank you. It is a Lego pun.
Yeah, the Cornerstone makes a lot of sense. I mean, he didn't call him Siggy till he touched the Cornerstone.
Mm-hmm. It's weird.
Yeah,
I loved the brick separator ship. It was so. There's just so many. I mean, we could sit here and rattle off our favorite things. Is there anything else though for characters that you want to talk about in terms of what you saw that you liked?
Ooh, I liked when we were talking about the old galaxy, Jedi Bob's galaxy.
How they look like old Legos.
They were all old Legos.
Oh my God, it was so good. I also really liked. We'll talk about that in a second. I did before we kind of move on to characters that I wish we saw or saw more of or twists on and stuff. I really loved the Landalorian. It was so silly, an evil Grogu. What the heck?
I'd buy that Lego set
100% with the like blue cape. And to that note, wearing Lando's clothes was Darth Maul. Yeah, I thought that was so good.
I was just gonna say
like he was just so nice, and Sam Witwer is always so good. But it was like you could tell he was just having so much fun with it,
and especially with the red eyes too, because they didn't change any of the Lego pieces other than like the main characters. So that was just Darth Maul Lego,
with Lando's body.
Yeah,
I think they did like a little like of his chest, but crazy.
I also wanted to give one more. Just talking about the characters, the attention to detail of the actual characters themselves. The older characters had worn body pieces,
like Palpatine, Jedi Bob,
Leia, Jedi Bob.
I was the attention to detail was insane. Like Darth Rose Tico, she had the little like crescent that her her and her sister had. We talked about the Jedi. We talked about some of the other characters. The Sith. What did you think of the collection of Sith characters?
They really included everything.
I mean, Nubs?
Yeah.
What the heck? They went everywhere. Kit Fisto. I would not have said like let's make Kit Fisto a Sith. I loved it though.
They just went so crazy.
You could tell they were given freedom to do probably more or less whatever they wanted.
Yeah, and
it showed in how much fun it was.
Yeah, and I think too that somebody got the privilege of building all these Lego sets in person first. So they knew how to animate it.
Oh man! If not in person, in like a software, which would be just as fun.
Could you imagine being that person at Lego who gets the task of build,
recolor the Slave One fire spray to be Greedo? That's fantastic. The other thing that I wanted to talk about with respect to characters is: were there any characters that you didn't see that you wanted to see? I have a little list here, and the caveat is that they did appear in like the the beginning montage of Sid walking through the galaxy, which I thought was fantastic and so funny.
Mm-hmm.
But Obi-Wan, Finn, Poe, BB-8, Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I think those are some significant characters that had virtually no presence in this, which is crazy.
It was interesting, like, not to jump ahead too much, but just to briefly touch on the story, which does circle back to the characters we're missing. The sequel trilogy hasn't happened yet.
No, it had.
Had it?
Yeah, Sig described that Rey is like the strong hero that beat Palpatine.
But they kept talking about the Empire the whole time.
The sequel trilogy, like, it's like the Empire was never defeated. This takes place at the time after the sequel trilogy.
Okay.
But the Empire had just never been defeated.
I mean, that explains why we didn't see Finn or Poe.
But we saw Rey.
Well, Rey's Force-sensitive Sith.
I guess you could have logically seen...
Sorry. We're not gonna bring logic into fun.
Yeah. I mean, not in this anyway.
Quirky.
But yeah, I there's more. We're going to talk about the fact that they left this very open, and I think maybe they wanted to leave themselves some significant characters to later have in the show. I wanted the C-3PO was so funny. I wanted more of it.
His gold Nubian starfighter,
ridiculous.
That was sweet.
It was so funny, and Anthony Daniels always does such a good job.
And so, as you and I know, and as you especially know, because you bought the set, they had C-3PO was in the set.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was going to be a Sith. I didn't think he was going to be a bounty hunter.
It's so fun. They really went all out with deciding exactly what to do with this, and I thought it was so good.
And they kept all the characters pretty true to form.
And like, if it was like C-3PO, but if it was like leaned bad, it wasn't like a full-on like bad, just a random bad protocol droid. They all felt like they were rooted in the characters, which I thought was such a great thing.
He's telling us the odds.
Oh, it's so good. Anything else to add on character thoughts before we dive into the story?
So, new characters we got.
Yes.
We got Sig, Dev/Darth Dev.
Yep.
And I'm blanking on the pilot's name.
Yes. I'll continue talking about how much I love Darth Ray while you look that up. I think Darth Ray is something that, look at me defaulting to my improv. Darth Ray is something that was such a fun idea in The Rise of Skywalker, but I think it didn't get that much time. And to be able to see it like fully realized in the context of being like a full Sith is crazy.
Yes.
Anyway, the name of that...
Yezi Scala.
Okay, yep. She was a great character.
She was, and I feel like she... Like kind of what you were just saying about C-3PO, about the characters who were just leaning the other way. I feel like if they were to take her into live action, she'd fit right in.
100%.
Would fit right in exactly.
As like even a rebel. Like, yes, fantastic. So anyway, I thought the new characters were really good. And I thought centering the story around the new characters and having all the fun stuff kind of be, not the main thing, but be adjacent to the thing was a very smart decision.
Right. And that way that it managed expectations. Kind of what we were talking about, in the past weeks with The Acolyte and some of the other just Star Wars in general, about managing our expectations when going to watch Star Wars. Mm-hmm. If we would have known that the show was going to be about Darth Jar Jar, like we said, 90% of the promotional material was about Darth Jar Jar. Mm-hmm. I feel like people would be disappointed if it wasn't up to snuff in their mind. However, centering it around two brand new characters.
And one little Lego toy that has been around forever but never had any significance.
Yeah, it was great because they got, like you said, they were able to tell whatever story they wanted to tell with whatever freedom, and then they could make fun with their cameos.
Mm-hmm. Overall, what did you think of the story? Like the, start to finish, the like not wanting to leave versus Dev wanting to leave, all the way up through where we find them at the end.
Very Star Wars-esque.
100%.
Very Star Wars-esque. This whole, I want to leave home. He's almost like the anti-Luke. Mm-hmm. And him and Luke have this very similar trajectory of just being the unlikely hero of the galaxy.
Mm-hmm. And this was something, I know we're talking about a story, but we didn't talk about Luke. Luke's one of Dan's favorite characters. What did you think of Luke?
I thought it was fun.
It was fun. I like that he was like rich.
Yeah.
It was so funny. But
but he was also, like we said, flipped just enough where
He's still a hero.
And he was cheating.
Uh-huh.
He was cheating to win his races.
It's so funny. But the story for me worked really well. I thought it was a bold move to, at the end have the galaxy not fixed and have Jedi Bob. I thought that was, in typical like Lego-y fashion, I thought Jedi Bob was going to be like, well, you can't fix it. But, it ends up being able to be fixed. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's necessarily not going to happen, but I thought it would have happened, this would be a nice, neat little package.
Yeah.
But I think they kind of lock this in to get more.
Yeah, and I think they can get more.
100%. I mean, and I think even though we got so much insanity, I think it can be, even more can be done.
Like you said, there's so many characters that we didn't even get to see.
Ahsoka wasn't in it. I didn't even think about that.
Ahsoka, female Anakin?
Female Anakin?
Yeah.
What?
In the prison.
That was Mon Mothma.
Was it Mon Mothma?
That was Mon Mothma.
I could have sworn... Okay, I thought it was her, but then I'm like, no, that's the Anakin Lego from the Clone Wars.
No, it's Mon Mothma.
So odd.
Yeah, because Anakin... I mean, I know Vader was in it, but Anakin technically wasn't. I thought Darth Vader... My favorite joke... No, we're going to talk about favorite silly things next. Keep yourself in line, Joey. I thought the story... Like we already kind of talked about it a little bit, like centering it around the cornerstone and the idea of mm-hmm. that and the adventures to find the temple. I just thought it was so clever and so fun.
And calling back to the traditional Star Wars Empire Strikes Back of the cave in Dagobah.
Uh-huh.
And like the visions of what, again, the parallels of Sig to Luke of failing in the cave.
Mm-hmm. And I felt like it got in a really silly package all of the important, like it distilled the important lessons of Star Wars into this little mm-hmm. package. And I thought it was just so good. I really, really, really loved the story. I found myself wishing that we could spend more time with each individual thing, mm-hmm. but that didn't really affect my thoughts on the story. I thought it was bold to not wrap it up in a clean package and leave it open for more.
Yeah.
I was really excited about it. Anything else to add on the story?
So well done.
It really was.
It had the potential to go awry quick.
Oh my God, yeah.
And for as much, dare I say, nonsense that was occurring in this show, it all influenced the story and all was rooted in their overall story. They didn't just do something to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything they did had a purpose. Every joke had a purpose.
And I think that's the key. It mm-hmm. really cemented it as something special when they treated the characters with respect while also being silly. Right. And I think that was the key to this being super successful.
No character had their image tarnished by this.
And I think that's some of my problem with if you watch the Family Guy Star Wars, not to throw something under the bus, but I feel like sometimes it this is haha, laugh with us about this.
Yeah.
The little jokes about, I guess Palpatine's back at the beginning. That's hysterical to me, and I love that decision. But it could be easy to make this put down things, but I felt like it truly lifted everything up.
The only thing it put down was Luke talking about his end in the original galaxy.
Oh, I thought it was so funny.
Oh my gosh.
But
it was so funny.
This is what I'm talking about. We had so much stuff with the prequels to make fun of the prequels. And I think that's what starts, and I've talked about this before, mm-hmm. starts to make people realize, you know what, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But then when they, really should think about it, you know what, that was kind of cool.
Yeah, like you said, I think when we were talking about it's okay to like Star Wars, that I don't like sand.
It's a silly line.
It's the same thing.
It is.
And then it's, let me go watch the movie so I can get, I don't like sand. Oh, well, that's pretty
The Geonosis
cool.
Arena is awesome.
Yeah. And then the fight, that's pretty cool too. And the clones, I'll watch, I know the next one's supposed to be good. I'll watch the next one.
Yeah, exactly. But, so we clearly love the story. I now want to go into just kind of wrapping up with our favorite silly things that we didn't talk about thus far. We've already talked about so many of them.
We have talked about a lot.
My favorite silly thing, and probably the thing that got one of the biggest laughs out of me, was when they were on Crate and they did the salt. And then he went,
I died.
Pepper.
I died.
It's just that is so silly.
And then they started to sneeze.
Uh-huh. It was 5 seconds,
mm-hmm.
but it was so funny. And there were so many things like that. The Jedi Council chamber being a sandcrawler on walker legs. Why?
Why not?
I loved it.
I liked when Palpatine was still putting down Vader.
Yes.
Just aggressively, I should have never promoted you from Padawan.
And it's like, those are the jokes that I think help elevate it from being like, there's the relationship dynamics are still kind of the same, but it's just in a whole, like, flipped on its head.
Yeah.
It was so good.
And we have to throw one callback in there that we didn't mention yet to your favorite show, Andor.
No.
The prison jumpsuits.
Oh my God, I thought it was such a clever use of it, because I could see them not wanting to put stuff from Andor in this, just because, like, if this is for more kids wanting to watch this, they'd probably be like, what is that? But I thought it was a clever way to do that. Yeah. And also, Jedi Bob's initial ship was the only Lego set from Andor. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Did you... What did I want to ask you? Did you think that, like... Was there something that you saw that took you a second to get used to in terms of, like, the silliness? Because everything kind of worked. I didn't really have anything that was like, oh.
No,
And sometimes with stuff like this, I can be like, oh.
The silly thing I like, before we get there, was in the trash compactor on Tatooine.
Oh, my God. When it was, like, the
two suns.
Oh, my God.
I'm like, this is good.
It was very good. And I was like, wonder why they're like that. And then I was like, oh, the music started playing. It's so good.
I'm like, that was good. And just going back to all these elements of traditional Star Wars escaping through the trash compactor.
It was just so... I could see this with less finesse being really ham-fisted and, like, just like, okay. But the way it was handled so delicately that they, like...
It's almost as like they treated it like a normal Star Wars show.
Uh-huh.
Well, they know it wasn't going to be canon, but they were treating it as if it was a canon story.
Yes.
Just the care they put into it.
And I mean, theoretically, I don't personally think that this is going to be the new Star Wars galaxy, but... it could if they truly wanted to. Again, it's not going to happen. But they've set it up in such a way where it's not necessarily violating anything. Like, all the events had happened.
Yeah, it happened.
So, yeah. Any other things for favorite silly things?
They were all pretty good.
So, I thought they were all really good. But the last thing I want to bring up is an idea that Dan had floated on the air. And I don't necessarily know that he knows I'm going to say this, but... Is there a set that you would want that has been released from this show? And is there a set that you want that has not yet been released that would be really fun to have?
I mean, the Dark Falcon was good, but that encompasses everything. If it were up to me, if I could buy a set, if I could make a set to purchase, it would be the Jedi Temple. In quotes. Like, I'm doing the quotes of the Sandcrawler on the walker legs with ridiculous. The Jedi Council Room.
Could you imagine that just being on your shelf next to, like, your real, like, Lego ships?
I think it would be so fun.
It's insane, but I love it.
It would be... Do we think Grievous was a Jedi as well?
I don't know, because he was technically with the Rebels.
So was Yoda.
But I don't necessarily think that they were Jedi, because the Jedi were the bad guys. So maybe they weren't Jedi, but they weren't Sith. Right. I don't know. It was weird.
Also, can we talk about just very briefly how for a second they talked about the rule of two?
Yes.
And just how it was like a commonly known thing.
Ridiculous. And then they... one thing we didn't really talk about, and I do want to say Jedi Bob was really, really good.
Oh, yeah.
We did... Like, Bobby Moynihan is always fantastic. But
all the voice actors were.
Yes, they all were. Especially, I thought it was exciting that we had, like real people who played the roles coming back, like... Rose had Kelly Marie Chan come back. Jedi Janna, which was insane.
Yes,
was actually Naomi Ackie. Like, and Billy D. Williams, Anthony Daniels, Sam Witwer. All of these people came back, and then some. And it just was so good. But for me, my set that I would really kind of want from this, I get torn in a bunch of different directions because it's like, do I go based on the build that I would want, or do I go based on the figures that I would want? What do you think?
30 seconds about each. Go.
Okay. The figures, I feel like I would want, like, the whole, like, and I think we're going to settle on the same thing. With the figures, I want the Jedi. I want Jedi Jabba. I want Jedi Cad Bane. I just don't know. I don't know why it ticks something. It's like, I got the Dark Falcon set so that I could specifically get Darth Jar Jar and Darth Rey. they're insane. And just having that on my shelf next to the weird stuff, or like next to like my normal Star Wars stuff, is insane. But for like the actual builds, the C-3PO gold, oh my god!
And you already have the figure for it.
And they wouldn't do it. It's fake anyway. I'd say Lego wouldn't use the like shinier pieces because they like to cheap out sometimes. But it's my mind. I can say it would all have all the shiny pieces, and it would be fantastic. Anything else to add about Rebuild the Galaxy, dude?
Oh, so good.
It was so good.
I didn't know what to expect, but I was so happy watching it.
Mm-hmm. I just enjoyed it every step of the way, and I'm looking forward to more.
Yeah, and I think we'll get more.
100%. It's a matter of when, not a matter of if. I feel like
this could be Lego Rebuild the blank, much like Marvel has What If.
I think it's all going to be called Rebuild the Galaxy, but I think we're just going to continue to follow the story of Sig and Jedi Bob. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. Please consider giving us a like or a subscription on YouTube or the podcast platform of your choice, and leave a review if you're able. Mm-hmm. And also, please consider giving us a follow on Twitter or X at Blue Shadow Pod, or on Instagram at Blue Shadow Podcast. With that, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Thanks.